What's going on, guys? All right, so it's a little bit different video today. So we don't actually have our weekly picks; those will be coming up here in a couple days. But we're gonna go ahead and talk some Cowboys football because figured it's a good time to do it. The off season, is we know, for the Cowboys is already here. We've already made some big changes within a week of our season being over. So, Glenn Hill, how you feeling right now, man? Going into the off season.
I'm feeling good. There's this little small part of me that would have liked to see them in the playoffs, but I'm not confident that they would have beaten Russell Wilson and the Seahawks at home. And even if they did, here they would be, likely playing. I guess with the Vikings beating the Saints, the Cowboys would be up against the Packers,
And they own us.
I don't think that would go too well in Lambeau with the way this team's looking, with the way they're coached. So I think with them losing to Philadelphia a few weeks ago, and then not making the playoffs, I think that kind of gave them more time, I guess, to not focus on playoff football, where they wouldn't have really made it far, and focus more on getting rid of their head coach and kind of starting the search for a new coach, and then getting in a new defensive coordinator, and kind of gives them a couple more weeks of off season to kind of prepare for next season, and really a couple weeks can mean a lot. I mean, you see it. The team that loses the Super Bowl usually they tend to have, we call it the Super Bowl hangover, and I think a big part of that is because they're 6 weeks behind all the other teams in the league. I mean, they're the teams that didn't make the playoffs and know that they're not going to make the playoffs. They're basically out of it by mid-December, and they got all that time to kind of gear up for next season. Maybe start scouting players, focusing on the draft, and then kind of beginning to plan for the next season. And the team that loses the Super Bowl, they've been focusing on getting to the Super Bowl the whole time, and then they lose it, and then maybe they go into that offseason with a little bit more of an ego, and be like, oh, we made the Super Bowl. But in reality, they're way behind all these other teams. I think Belichick said it a couple years ago after a Super Bowl, where I think the Patriots had won. Maybe it was last year even, and they asked him, how much he enjoyed winning, I guess, and his response was, well, we're 6 weeks behind all the other teams. So,
yeah.
Fortunately, the Cowboys, they're ahead. They already got their new coach. It happened a little bit sooner than I thought it was going to be. I was actually very surprised to see the decision had been made. I had to check multiple sources to make sure it was legit, that I wasn't just seeing rumors. It turns out, it's legit. They got Mike McCarthy, and Mike McCarthy, he decided to bring in Mike Nolan, the defensive coordinator, who when Mike Nolan was the head coach of the 49ers in 2005, he hired Mike McCarthy as an offensive coordinator. So now McCarthy is hiring him. Mike Nolan's been coaching since 1981, and he brings 17 years of experience as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So what you see with these two guys coming in is a ton of experience, both with Nolan and then obviously McCarthy, who's I think he coached 11 years with the Packers or something. Made the playoffs like 9 times.
13
Obviously,
seasons, 9 playoff appearances.
Okay, yeah. And then he had the, I think how many times did he make the conference championship game? Like 5 or 6 times or something.
4 NFC title games.
Was it 4? 4. Okay. And then obviously they made the one Super Bowl. They won it. There are some questions, and I was actually, when they made the hire yesterday, I was like a little like, I don't know, like this seems too quick, maybe seems a little safe, but I'm kind of starting to come around on it a little more. And, especially I like the hire a defensive coordinator. I think if no one gets along with the other defensive coaches that are already on staff, assuming that they stay, I think things will work out well there. We need someone they got players. Right, they need someone on defense to really get these guys fired up, because when the Cowboys defense was really good a couple of years ago, they were playing fired up, man, and they were not. It didn't seem like they were as fired up this year at times, and I may be completely whiffing on that, but I feel like we need a coach who not only knows how to scheme and get the right the right call the right plays on defense, but also really get these guys to play hard and do their jobs to the best of their ability. So I guess what are your initial thoughts there? I'm actually feeling I'm pretty happy with the way things have worked out these last couple days.
Yeah, so like doing more research about it, I completely agree with you. I mean, you summed it up. I mean, I feel a lot better than I did. Well, I guess what would it be like, 20 more than almost 36 hours ago when they actually made the decision that
Yeah,
that he was going to be the next coach. And yeah, there's definitely question marks about it. I mean, because obviously, like it goes back to the point where, well, he got fired from Green Bay for a reason. Uh, so yeah, we all know that. And the fact that he had Aaron Rodgers, who's obviously a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, and so he's been able to succeed because of that. But I mean, obviously, like just kind of going through this, obviously we hired it. It was official today. He was a Packers coach for 13 seasons. Like I said, he went 125, 77, and 2 career record. Only better coach with that record is Bill Belichick. So Bill
yeah,
Belichick actually is the only coach better than him right now currently that has more regular season wins, more playoff appearances, and more playoff wins. So that's also something to look at too. He had 10 playoff wins, 10-8 in the playoffs, 6 division titles, 4 NFC title games. We mentioned that, and the 1 Super Bowl in AT&T Stadium. And so yeah, we signed him on a 5-year deal, which most coaches get when they get hired.
yeah.
So and then like you said, Mike Nolan, a guy that has a lot of experience. I mean, he was the Saints linebackers coach this season, and
And that's a very resurgent defense too.
yeah,
And they were average a few years ago. He's really helped turn them around. So
yeah, and I mean, obviously, like the narrative, the false narrative, or not really the false narrative, but just the narrative in general is that the Saints, the past 3 years, you look at their. I'm gonna talk about this more in the wild when we pick the divisional games, but the Saints have lost their 3 playoff games the same way that they did. They've lost the last 3 playoff games the same way, and it's because of their defense not being able to make a stop. You can make an argument that there's been bad calls, which there has been. There's no doubt about it, but the reason because of that has led to a defensive stop that the Saints weren't able to make. So, which is also something to look at. So, yeah, Mike McCarthy was his assistant coach, Mike Nolan's assistant coach in San Fran. The only thing that's kind of concerned there is that team was terrible. They were 2-14, and they just were not a
yeah,
good team. But obviously that was before Mike McCarthy started the era in Green Bay, and he was really successful coach there. So I guess how I'm feeling about this now is I'm definitely feeling a lot more confident now that I've heard all this stuff. Anybody at the end of the day, anybody we were gonna get was gonna be better than Jason Garrett. I mean, if you look at our season this past year, we were poorly coached. We were in games where you could tell we were unprepared. It was some games were over because we got down too early, and we just made stupid calls. And then there was late games where we were right there in it, and we just blew it because of some bogus call. And if you look at it, the season we were still in the division because of how bad it was. So the Eagles beat us week 16, and they made the playoffs by 1 better game than us. And there was games this year that we shouldn't have lost. And
yeah,
it goes back to the Jets game, the game that you shouldn't have blown, the Vikings game, a game that you were driving down the field and you were winning, and you were going to possibly win that game if you just let Dak throw the ball, but you decided to call 2 stupid run plays, and it ruins the game right there. The Saints game was close. We lost by 3. The Packers game, we started off the game, it was like 31-3, and we came back and we lost 34-24. And so that was another position. So there was a lot of games this season that could have been dictated by the coaching, and I think it is. And I think Mike McCarthy, obviously, like this is all ifs, but I think if Mike McCarthy was in that situation, maybe we could have done like 4 games better than we actually were, 8-8. This team
yeah.
is too talented to be 8-8. And I think Jason Garrett, his time was up. We talked about it all the time. He just needed to get out of there, and I think it was long overdue. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I think Mike Nolan being the defensive coordinator, me and my dad talked about it. Not only do we need a new coach, I think we need a defensive coordinator. As much as a lot of people give Marinelli credit, I don't think he's bad, but I just think it's time to move on. I think he's a little old. He's been in the league forever. And Mike Nolan is still a guy that, like you said, has a lot of experience. So it's not like we're going from like this really like veteran coach, defensive coordinator to like some just young dude. It's like this dude's been around for a while. So and he's helped the Saints defense a little bit. So I mean, if there's some way that they can make Mike Nolan just in charge of the defense overall, which he's going to be because he's the defense coordinator, and then still maybe still keep Marinelli in like the booth or something, or maybe have him as the defensive line coach and keep Chris Richard in the secondary coach. So I don't know. I mean, if there's a way we can keep all three of them, I think that would be good, because I think Chris Richard is still a guy that fires up the team, and I think Marinelli's still like a defensive-minded guy. So I think just having those guys, that leadership could help the defense. Just fire them up, because there was times this game that they just kind of gave up in games and they just got throttled around with especially with this success. And I think a lot of it had to do with coaching. And a lot of people can blame Chris Richard for he was great last year for the defense in the secondary, now this year they were just terrible. I mean, that's true, but you got to think about the players were the ones that weren't stepping up either. Like Byron Jones didn't have a great year, and Chidobe Awuzie, it seemed like he wasn't having a good year either. So I think coaching is a big thing, is a big factor.
They're talented players.
Yeah, they're talented players, and I think bad coaching outweighs talented every time. So. It could be a mixture of that, but I think if you can find a way to have Mike Nolan, Rob Marinelli, and Chris Richard on this team, like on the defense, and it's going to help them, I say why not keep them. But overall, I think this is going to be really good. I'm excited going into the season. I think the Cowboys, they have the roster, they just didn't have the coach. And one last thing I want to say before I let you get it back to you is, Mike McCarthy got fired for Green Bay for the reason they were underperforming. It seemed like he was holding Aaron Rodgers back the last few years of his career, or the last few seasons before he got fired. But I think Mike McCarthy's in a better situation than he was in Green Bay. I think Green Bay had such a talented offense for so long, but they never really had that defense. I feel like the Cowboys, despite how bad they performed on defense this year, I still think they have the overall balanced team to be a Super Bowl contender. So I think Mike McCarthy is in the best situation possible. So I'm excited, man. I think next year is going to be really good. We have another tough schedule, not as tough as this year, but I saw we played the Ravens on the road. We play Seattle on the road. We play the Minnesota Vikings on the road. It's going to be a tough schedule. We're going to have some tough games next year, and they could all be close if we just play to our capability. And that's when you're going to need a guy like Mike McCarthy, a good coach, to help you win those close games, which we weren't able to win close games this year with Jason Garrett. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, yeah, I am too. Obviously, there's a lot to be excited about here. Whenever there's a change like this, and Jason, because we've been waiting for this for a while, I feel like, and it finally, they made the move, they fired Jason Garrett, and now it's just gonna be exciting to see how this works out. But so Mike McCarthy was going back to when he was with Green Bay. He never really had a great running back, and I don't think he's ever really worked particularly well with running backs. I mean, he was coaching Aaron Jones. They drafted Aaron Jones in maybe a couple of years before he ended up getting fired, and he was not doing great there in Green Bay. But then, of course, Matt LaFleur comes in, and now Aaron Jones has really broken out this year. And I think a lot of that has to do with coaching. But he's been really good with pocket passers. I mean, he's coached freaking Joe Montana, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, all-time. I mean, three all-time great quarterbacks right there. But I feel like I feel like Mike McCarthy, and I've been hearing this a little bit. He has to kind of reinvent himself just a little bit. I think he has to understand what he's got in a guy like Ezekiel Elliott. He's never coached, or at least with Green Bay, he hasn't coached a running back as good as Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh,
and of course, Cowboys, he's the highest paid running back in the league. And I just hope that Coach McCarthy, with his experience, that he knows how to use Ezekiel Elliott the right way, really have a solid run game, and then really set things up well for Dak Prescott. And that, he's really good at coaching like pocket passers. All three of those guys, Montana, Favre, Rodgers, they're all all-time great pocket passing quarterbacks. Dak Prescott's a little bit different. He can throw the ball, not nearly as he can't throw the ball nearly as well as any of those three. But he's very. The thing about Dak Prescott is he's not going to really bite back like an Aaron Rodgers would. He's not going to, he's not going to get a play call and just automatically not listen to it because he doesn't like the coach or something. I don't really know that whole situation and why they really didn't get along, but I don't really see there ever being a rift between Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott. I feel like they're going to get along really well. You look at here's the thing though. You look at all like the best offenses in the NFL right now. The Ravens are up there. The Chiefs, teams like that. They're able to. They're very dynamic. They can hurt you with multiple things. They can kind of run the ball, but at the same time they got this quarterback who is very dynamic, who can throw the ball well, but at the same time use his legs. So I'm hoping that Coach McCarthy has a system in place where, Dak Prescott, he can throw the ball well, but also really make plays with his legs. Because I think that's what's really important in the league today. You got to have a quarterback who can be a little bit dynamic, and Dak Prescott is that. But you got to have the right coaching in place in order to maximize that talent. So I'm hoping that he kind of adjusts in that sense a little bit. This hire overall, to me, it feels very safe. It feels like a hire that it's not necessarily going to blow up necessarily. Like if you hire Lincoln Riley, there's a chance that Lincoln Riley, I'd say a pretty decent chance that he's a little bit over his skis. He's coached in college, but it's a lot. He gets to the NFL. You got to be the CEO of an entire NFL team. It's a lot different than coaching a college team. There's a decent chance that he's in over his skis, and it could blow up because he's really young. He doesn't really have a ton of experience.
And Urban Meyers too.
What's that?
And Urban Meyers too, because they were interested in him too.
Yeah, exactly. Like those are moves that they could be home runs, or they could just be, they could be something in the middle, but maybe they could also be, big whiffs, and it could really, send this organization down the tubes a little bit. This was a huge hire for the Cowboys. They've been, a little bit lackluster under Jason Garrett. They've made playoff appearances and they've made divisional round appearances, but they've never made a conference. They never made a conference championship appearance under Jason Garrett. They never really. This is the most well-known, one of the biggest sports brands, in America, and you got to be shooting for Super Bowl almost every year. And this was a big hire because if you hire someone and it completely blows up, then it just the downward trajectory just continues. And then, at that point, no one wants to coach there. So it's really hard to get that back up. So this feels like a very safe hire, but maybe a safe hire is kind of something that the Cowboys need at the moment. They need someone to coach this really talented roster while they're still talented, and help get them to a Super Bowl, keep this thing going well, and then we'll see where they go from there. Mike McCarthy, it feels like maybe the upside isn't as big as maybe hiring an Urban Meyer or Lincoln Riley, but it's also not going to be. I don't see this being a complete whiff. I think at worst, they're the same as where they were with Jason Garrett, record-wise. Yeah. I don't see this team, falling off the cliff and going 4-12 or something like that anytime soon.
No.
The upside's big because what if this roster's talented? Everyone's saying that. What if next year they could take that step and they got a few extra weeks to plan over these teams that are currently in the playoffs. Maybe they can take that extra step and be right in the mix for NFC Championship or something next year. So again, we'll kind of see how that all plays out, but um, um, yeah, I'm very excited to see how things go.
Which is all we really asked for, man. Like, I mean, if we,
Yeah,
a lot of people think that like our fans are like, oh, Cowboys Super Bowl every year. Well, yeah, like, but being realistic, the Cowboys just want to get past the divisional round. Like, if they making an NFC Championship appearance is already a win for the Cowboys in the last 25 years. You know,
yeah.
they were never good enough to make it past the divisional round because of Jason Garrett, and I think it's what was I gonna say? I think it's better either way. So like you said, I don't think it's just gonna completely go the opposite way and go downhill and they just completely fall off the map. I don't see that happening because it feels like we were really bad this year with Jason Garrett and we still finished 8-8, and that's because we have a talented roster at the end of the day. So we're not. I mean, if you can imagine Jason Garrett on a team like the Browns, like this year, like they would have maybe won 2-3 games this year. Like,
I don't know if they would have been because they're kind of talented too. Not as talented as the Cowboys.
okay, maybe the Browns wasn't a good comparison.
I don't see Jason Garrett doing much worse than Freddie Kitchens did.
Maybe not the Browns. Maybe that wasn't a good comparison because the Browns at the end of the day are still kind of a talented team on paper. Just a team that's not talented. If you put him on another team with our schedule, I think it would have been a lot worse. And I mean, thankfully he's in a big organization. But Jason Garrett was the definition of average. He wasn't gonna. He was a yes man, and he wasn't a guy that was okay. I'm gonna be up by 3 points, so let's go ahead and keep trying to run. Let's go ahead and run up the score. No, if he's up by 3 late in the game, he's gonna be running the ball, trying to waste clock, just doing enough to get the win. And he's just too conservative. And I'm excited for Mike McCarthy. I am interested to see though, like you said, because Mike McCarthy's never really coached a running back that was as good as Ezekiel Elliott. And this year, the reason why Dak Prescott's game elevated a lot in the passing game and Ezekiel Elliott's game kind of went down, he didn't get as much carries, was because of Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator. Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator. That's what happens when I've been A&M so much.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, Kellen Moore. So a lot of people give Kellen Moore a lot of hate. I think he was a lot better than Linehan. I think he's
got a lot to learn now.
He's got a lot to learn, but Dak Prescott elevated his game because of Kellen Moore, and we turned into a passing attack team this year, and we kind of got away from the run game. But at the end of the day, Jason Garrett was still an old school run the football as much as he can. So Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore didn't work well, or Kellen Moore. I keep saying Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore didn't work well because Kellen Moore wanted to throw the ball, but Jason Garrett wanted, okay, well, we got to throw the ball, but we also got to run the ball too. We can't get away from running the ball, and it just didn't correlate. So I think that was another thing. So I think Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore with the full offseason will be able to kind of address the situation, and hopefully Mike McCarthy can learn how great of a running back Ezekiel Elliott is, and I think it's good. We don't have to be as pass happy as we were this year, because at the end of the day, Dak and Zeke are going to have to be on point for us to win these big games. And I think if you kind of just balance it a little more and not force anything, you can be okay. Because Ezekiel Elliott doesn't have to have like 300-something carries a year because, it's us being scared that he might burn out. So I think he had like 40 less carries this year. Or like it was like 21. It was between 20 and like 40 carries less than he had last year, and that's because Dak Prescott threw the ball way more. And so I think if you could like limit the carries a little bit, you're gonna he's gonna be more fresh for years to come, which is okay. You don't have to run him into the ground like you were doing his first few years. So I like how he's kind of laying off on the run him into the ground, but I do want to not get away from him in the offense, and I'm excited to see how McCarthy's going to do with that. So I think him and Moore, full off season, will be really good. And, Mike McCarthy said he obviously sees something in Kellen Moore because he said, they asked him, Jerry Jones allowed him to pick his own staff, and he wanted a new defensive coordinator, which is what we needed, what we agreed on.
Yep.
And then he liked the offensive coordinator and Kellen Moore because he's still young, and I guess he sees something there. So I'm okay with that. I think he's in his right state of mind, and he hasn't coached in a whole year too. So maybe that gave him a little bit time to like sit back and kind of address what it takes to be a good coach. And who knows, this is a, like you said, this is a safe pick. Jerry Jones kept him. He invited him over to his house, and they said, whoever Jerry Jones has at his house, he gets. And that gives a lot of Cowboys fans scared because they think, oh, he's going to be another Jason Garrett. He's just going to do what Jerry does. He's going to be Jerry Jones' little puppet. I don't know. I mean, it very well could be that way, but I hope not.
That might be my biggest concern, actually. Well, there's a concern that he's not going to be that he's maybe a little too outdated. I guess maybe he's not going to reinvent himself. I don't think that's a huge concern for me because he hasn't really had the players that this Cowboys offense has at the moment. And so I feel like he'll get the right game plan in place, especially with Kellen Moore, who's already, been the offense coordinator for a year. I would like to know who's calling the plays, though, because Mike McCarthy did say a couple of years ago that he would never not call his own plays again. I got to pull up that quote, but he said something along those lines. So interesting to see there. We'll have to kind of look into how that plays out with him and Kellen Moore. Maybe Kellen Moore serves as almost like an advisor, I guess, to Coach. Maybe McCarthy calls the plays, but Kellen Moore kind of helps him out a little bit. We'll kind of see how that works out there. But what was I going to say? Here, I'll let you resume. I got to think about what I was going to say.
Oh yeah, you're good. No, yeah. I mean, so I just hope he's not a yes man like Jason Garrett, but I really don't think. I mean, I saw a video the other day of him like because he just joined the Cowboys, so I follow these Cowboys fan pages on Instagram, and they were showing like him getting fired up and pissed off about a bad call, and we're not saying like that as in, oh, fired up is going to change, is going to be, he's a good coach. It just means that you're going to get someone that can motivate that locker room, because Jason Garrett would never do that. Jason Garrett would just kind of have a straight face or just clap it off, So, just having that energy is what we need. And, I guess looking at, what other people thought about the whole Mike McCarthy situation, a lot of people seem, Cowboys are 50-50 on it, or like the Cowboys fans are 50-50 on it for most of the posts I've seen. A lot of, there was some analysts like Cowherd and Stephen A. said that this is a safe pick, which is what we were saying. It very well probably is a safe pick. And then Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman is the biggest Cowboys hater out there. I mean, he tries so hard not to be a biased fan, and there's a lot of times where he just shits on the Cowboys. So, if this is coming for him, that's also saying something. Today he was asked about hiring Mike McCarthy, and he said, "I think it was an outstanding hire. He's an excellent coach. He's demanding. He's thorough, and he's prepared. Unlike Garrett."
I like demanding. I think that might be the biggest, the best quality that I see that they need right now. Because Garrett was not very demanding. Who else is demanding? Nick Saban's very demanding. And that's the guy that I was hoping that was like my dream hire. That's what I wanted the Cowboys to get. Almost because Nick Saban reminds me a little bit of a Jimmy Johnson, in the sense that Jimmy Johnson had a ton of success at Miami. That's where he became huge. Nick Saban was pretty big before Alabama. That's kind of how he got that job in Miami with the Dolphins. But he really, the majority of his accolades were earned at Alabama. He just won. He won so many championships there. They've had so much success under him. He's such a great leader. He kind of has a similar. He's like Bill Belichick, but with a little bit more energy and juice to him. He's like the kind of like the do your job type of coach, who will scream at his players and really try and get the best out of each and every player. I don't know. He reminds me of Belichick in a lot of ways, and obviously they did that thing on HBO called like the Art of Coaching. Whatever. I didn't get to watch that, but I think Belichick thinks really highly of Nick Saban, and you know, yeah, Saban was my dream hire. He's very demanding. And when they hired McCarthy, I think my first reaction was, well, he's not really. He's almost a little bit like Jason Garrett in the sense that he's maybe a little bit more even keeled as well, and might work well under Jerry Jones. That's the thing with Saban. I was like, well, one, he's probably not going to leave Alabama. Two, I don't think he'd work well under Jerry Jones. I don't know if the two would get along that well. I think when he hired Jimmy Johnson, Jerry had to relinquish some power, and I don't think he would want to do that right now. Relinquish power to this coach that is so well known. Who's one of the most well known coaches in all of football right now. So I think this is the hire that Jerry's happy with. You're not going to have to give a ton of power necessarily. But at the same time, you want a guy who is more demanding than Jason Garrett, almost like Saban-esque, Belichick-esque, but maybe not all the way there, because maybe that wouldn't please Jerry Jones, I guess.
He's in the middle. He's obviously.
I feel like you get the good balance here. Yeah.
Yeah. You just said it. Like I was gonna say he's no Jason Garrett, but he's not exactly Saban or Belichick.
He's not that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jerry Jones didn't want to take a risk on a college coach. That lets us know that he has a little bit of knowledge, because you bring a college coach in, that it seems like a lot of teams that bring in college coaches are either rebuilding or they're just not looking forward to in a win now mode. You know what I'm saying?
They're looking for a big splash.
Yeah, but it's not like we're gonna win the Super Bowl now. Like, I feel like the Cowboys should be thinking that right now. It's like, okay, well, we addressed the situation. It was the coach. Get him out of here. We have the roster. This is if we're gonna somehow win a ring, this is the best time to do it.
Exactly what you said, and yeah, you're like, you want to win a ring, and you want to hire a guy that's going to make the most of this roster, someone with a ton of experience.
Yeah.
I would say that Nick Saban would be much riskier hire than Mike McCarthy, because Mike McCarthy, he's had success in this league. He's won a Super Bowl. Nick Saban, the one time he was a head coach in this league, it obviously didn't go well, and he didn't last very long with the Dolphins. I always had the belief that, like, after it's been 13, 14 years, maybe not that long, maybe like 11, 12 years since he's been a coach in the National Football League. I feel like he would do a lot better now, but there still is that risk there that, like, maybe not. Maybe he's more of a college coach. He's a really good recruiter. Maybe that's why, because recruiting's so big there, maybe that's why he has most of his success. Maybe he doesn't have the schematic expertise that, a Super Bowl winning head coach in the NFL would have. Yeah, like you said, this roster is very good. They want a guy who can win now with this roster. It's not the biggest splash, but it is very safe. This isn't gonna collapse. This isn't the type of hire where it's all gonna fall apart in a couple of years. I think a 5-year deal is very reasonable, and we'll kind of to see how things play out the next few years, and then they'll go from there. But I think, I think at the end of the day, I think it was a good move, much better move than what Dave Gettleman and the Giants did up north. And I I guess we can get into that, segue into that now in a little bit. That's.
Yeah, and like you said, I think demanding is the most crucial thing to have for us, because Jerry Jones is one of those dudes where he wants to be in control. So he's not gonna let a coach tell him what to do, and he didn't let Jimmy Johnson do it, and that's the reason why they didn't get along, and that's why he fired him, which was obviously stupid back in that time. And Jason Garrett never did that. Jason Garrett always listened to Jerry, and he always did what Jerry wanted. So that's why he loved him so much. That's also a concern, because Jared Jones obviously probably feels like, oh, McCarthy will be the same way. Like he'll follow what I want and he'll do what I want. Blah blah blah. And so I hope if Mike McCarthy, if there's struggles again, if there's the same constant stuff where we're not getting the job done and we're being too conservative. It's like you got to look at Jerry Jones being the issue too. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I guess we could go ahead and get on into the. I mean, since we're on the topic, the NFC. We got the NFC East head coaches now. So we got Ron Rivera, the Redskins' new head coach. We have Mike McCarthy's the new Cowboys coach. Doug Peterson obviously still remains the Eagles coach, obviously the best coach in the division by far. And then now we got Giants Joe Judge today. So the Patriots.
Yeah, how about that? Three new head coaches in the NFC East. Very interesting. Obviously, it was obviously the worst division in football this year.
Yep.
I agree that Doug Peterson was the only coach in this division who deserved to keep his job. Super Bowl winning coach, had a lot of injuries this year. Beat up team. They have the franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz, and they were still able to find a way into the postseason, win the division. And
could have won if Carson Wentz didn't go down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Ron Rivera in Washington. I think this is a guy who's had a lot of success in the league. I don't know. I'm not sold on Dwayne Haskins to be honest with you. I think I've heard some issues with his work ethic. He doesn't have the greatest work ethic. Not a work ethic that a franchise quarterback would have. Like you hear stories about Drew Brees, Drew Brees and Peyton Manning, who I've heard, Pat McAfee was saying that Peyton Manning is, a lot of people they say are, first one there, last one to leave. Pat McAfee was saying that, yeah, Peyton Manning was actually that guy. And he's an all-time great. And Drew Brees, the same thing. A lot of people say that about him. Doesn't sound like Dwayne Haskins, and he might be, could be something like that, but it doesn't sound like he is that kind of guy. He has some footwork issues. Obviously Washington is not a great. It was going to be tough to be a quarterback there this year with how much of a dumpster fire they were. Yeah, not sold on him, but I do like Ron Rivera. He's got again a ton of experience, a good which I think is good for this team.
Super Bowl appearance experience too.
Yeah,
he's at least been there,
no doubt. Yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say on that one. But the Giants one just came down today. It looks like they really wanted Matt Rule. I truthfully thought that Matt Rule was going to be the head coach there. It just kind of made sense in my head that, like, okay, this guy, either he was going to stay at Baylor or he was going to become the Giants head coach. That's a great opportunity to become the head coach of the New York Giants. He's from, I think he's born in like Long Island or something. It just kind of felt right to me. Looks like they were after him, but the Panthers gave him I guess it was a 7-year deal. And the Giants, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but the Giants didn't match that this morning. And all of a sudden, Matt Rule becomes the head coach of the Panthers. And it looked like, maybe Dave Gettleman, he kind of panicked a little bit, and he hires this guy, Joe Judge, who honestly, I'd never even heard the name. I saw the tweet today that was like, Joe Judge has been named the Giants head coach, and I was just like, who? Like, I've never even heard of that guy.
Yeah.
It turns out he's, it was the Patriots wide receiver and special teams coach, and I guess the Patriots wide receivers have underachieved this year. N'Keal Harry, hasn't been looking too great. His development's been pretty slow. Very complex system there in New York. Very, very rigid under Coach Belichick there. So it's been kind of tough for Harry to adjust to the National Football League. It's looked like, and then Mohamed Sanu has kind of been a slow it's kind of taken a while to get him integrated to the system. So my question is, why? What's kind of the problem with that? These two really talented guys. Why did it take so long to get them ready to go to play at a really high level? And I think you could blame it on the rigidity of Belichick's system. You could maybe also look at Coach Judge, like how did that? Why didn't it quite work out there? So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a guy who's going to be. I just maybe a little overwhelmed because he's 38 years old, does not have most of the successful coaches in the league are older guys. Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, obviously Sean Payton. These are all guys with a ton of experience in this league. I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't feel right to me. We need guys. I think the best coaches in this league have so much experience at coaching at this high of level, and I just don't feel like this guy has that experience. And at the same time, he's coaching the New York Giants. It's not like he's coaching in like Buffalo or in Cincinnati or one of the smaller markets. This is freaking New York, the media capital of the world, where he's just going to get so much pressure from all the media. And I don't know. I feel like he's. I just don't feel like this is. I feel like this is going to blow up. To be honest with you, that's my first reaction. It was kind of a panic hire, and I don't know. I don't know why you would get him over like Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I feel like he's a guy that has really, helped establish that offense as one of the league's best over the last couple of years. It was really helped in the development of Patrick Mahomes as, an MVP last year. One of the, he looks to be, the future star in the NFL alongside, Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. He's an established offensive coordinator with a lot of experience. I think he would come to New York, work really well with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. That was a hire that I was hoping maybe the Giants, not hoping because I'm a Cowboys guy, but that the Giants hiring Bieniemy would have made a lot of sense, and them hiring Josh McDaniels from the Patriots would have made a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like McDaniel, if you're why Judge? Like get McDaniels.
Yeah, Judge or McDaniels or Bieniemy. But I feel like part of this to me, it feels like it's almost the same thing with Jerry Jones. Like Gettleman wants to be the guy in charge, and he wants to hire a guy who's not really going to push back on him a lot. Maybe. I mean, this might not be the case, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. Maybe guys like Bieniemy and McDaniels who have won a lot of games in this league. Bieniemy who helped elevate Patrick Mahomes. Helped take this team to the AFC Championship game last year, and now here they are again, on the cusp of maybe making another AFC Championship and possible, Super Bowl appearance this year, and also, Andy Reid's coaching tree is so good, and a lot of his a lot of Andy Reid's former staff members, guys like Doug Peterson and whatnot, they tend to work out elsewhere. And with Belichick, it doesn't really tend to be the case because Andy Reid tends to be more the guy who kind of shares his knowledge. In Belichick, maybe he's such a genius that maybe these other coaches that coach under him don't necessarily. I guess maybe they don't really take it for themselves. Maybe they have a lot of success while they're there, but maybe they don't absorb the knowledge the same way, so they're not able to have success elsewhere. But I don't know. I mean, this Judge guy doesn't sound like he's going to really push back on because McDaniels would come in and be like, "Yeah, we won championships in with the Patriots. Like I know what I'm doing," and I don't know. I mean,
yeah. Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see. And I mean, even if they were going to try to get the offensive coordinator from Kansas City, they would have had to wait to negotiate anything until the Kansas City got eliminated.
That's true.
So,
that is true.
I mean, and it seems like it's like, all right, get your guy now, and like you were mentioning the start preparing early. So I guess they just wanted to get their guy now. But I mean, at the end of the day, the Giants are the Giants. I mean, they're average at best. I mean, with how big their market is, they should be good every year. But no, they're just average, and to, for them being average. I mean, you can even tell. They requested permission today from the Cowboys to talk to Jason Garrett, and the reason they had to request permission was because Jason Garrett's contract technically doesn't expire until the 14th, which is next week.
Yeah.
Because the Cowboys technically didn't fire him; they're just not renewing him.
Yep.
But so I mean, he would be an offensive coordinator for New York and under Joe Judge, and that's the definition right there of being an average team. And me and my dad talked about it earlier. Earlier, like at the Thanksgiving Bills game, we were there. We were saying Jason Garrett needs to go to a team like the Giants, a team that's average at best, and a team that just pretty much isn't going to do anything within years. They're just going to maybe at best be 7-9, 8-8, not make the playoffs. An average team,
Right.
And so I think that's a guy. I mean, it seems dumb for the Giants to hire someone as Jason Garrett, but that's a good move for him. Jason Garrett's an average guy,
Yep.
So, yeah, but it kind of sucks, with the whole Matt Rule situation. Today, like Matt Rule apparently called the Giants signing with the Panthers and gave them, one last chance to match his deal, and New York Giants actually declined because they wanted to hire Joe Judge. So, I mean, I don't know. Obviously it's a risk, like we said with college coaches. We'll see how he does there in Carolina. I mean, he helped Baylor a lot. I mean, it seemed like he started off slow with the teams. He started off really bad with Baylor, but then over the years he got progressively better, and Baylor was actually a really good team this year. So Baylor might go back to tanking again until they get another coach again.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ron Rivera, like we said, Ron Rivera is a good coach. He was actually a guy I wanted the Cowboys to look at, but Redskins obviously snatched him really well. And I don't know. I mean, on paper, they got Ron Rivera, solid coach, and then they got Jack Del Rio as a defensive coordinator. So I think that on paper that's looking really good for the Redskins, but they just don't have the quarterback, man. I don't think Haskins is the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, I just don't think. I mean, I like the young receiving core with Terry McLaurin. I think he's going to be a stud, and even their defense isn't terrible. But I mean, you got to have a good quarterback in this league, and I just don't think Haskins and the GM of the Redskins, they'll find a way to mess it up with Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio as on their coaching staff. So I just think they'll find a way to mess it up. As far as the Eagles, they're going to be the team to beat again in the NFC East. I don't think the Giants are going to be right around the same, and who knows, maybe Joe Judge has a terrible year. They refire him mid-season, and Jason Garrett takes over as head coach, and they're still average. I could see that very well happening. So I mean, who knows? Maybe Jason Garrett will be their coach if Joe Judge doesn't work out. So the Eagles are obviously the team to beat, especially when they're healthy. They're a good roster. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be the same for the next couple of years. Cowboys, Eagles. Who's gonna win the division?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a good race next year. I think the Cowboys. It's interesting because I want to see what they do with Dak Prescott this offseason. Is he? I mean, he's not an unrestricted free agent, is he? I mean, how does that work in football? Is he?
Who are we talking about again?
Dak Prescott.
Oh no, I don't. I'm not sure how exactly it works. But I think they could still franchise tag him.
Yeah, I know they can franchise tag him, but his contract ends after this year, so they either got to franchise tag him or they got to pay him. So
yeah,
franchise tagging, it's not cheap. So I mean, it's what, $30 million a year or something. So
it's like $28 million.
I don't know. I think franchising him is the smart move. I don't think he's, to be honest with you, as great as he is, I don't think he's deserving of a $35 million a year deal. I think you franchise tag him, see how he works under this new head coach, and just I feel like Dak. I don't know. I feel like he would be compliant with that. I mean, he's not like a Zeke Elliott where he would freak out and refuse to show up until he gets his deal. I feel like he would, do it for the team, take it, maybe take the $4 or $5 million less to be franchise tag for this year. Not get the longevity yet, but then work his butt off, prove he can succeed under Coach McCarthy, and then maybe get that contract at the end of the year. But that's the thing. Like, they're already paying Zeke. Now you pay Zach, you pay Dak. Now you gotta figure out what you're gonna do now with the offensive line and with the receivers. What do you do with Amari Cooper?
Yep, that's gonna
Travis
be the big
Frederick and
thing.
them. It's just so I don't know. I think you franchise tag him.
Yeah, and I don't understand the hate with Amari Cooper. Like, a lot of people are saying that that we shouldn't bring him back this next year because they like Gallup, which I love Gallup, and
Yeah,
they think we can get another receiver, which I honestly don't think that's a good idea at all. I mean, if you look at what Amari Cooper's done since he's been here, he's the only reason we made the playoffs last year. When we were traded for him, he turned our whole team around. I mean, and a lot of people could argue that he even turned Dak Prescott's career around because Dak Prescott was in a slump, man, up until he finally got Amari Cooper to finally get the ball downfield, make separation, and not be so predictable because people were stacking the box with Zeke Elliott. We were so predictable, and finally when Amari Cooper came in, we were able to air it out a little bit. And then Gallup helped a lot in the passing game. He's grown a lot in the air. He was a 1,000-yard receiver with Cooper. But I think it's dumb if you don't want Cooper to come back because a lot of people think, well, he's disappeared a lot in games this year, and he's starting to be that receiver that we saw him in Oakland at the end of his career, at the beginning of his career, and that's why they let him go. But I honestly disagree with that statement, like 100%, because I don't think he ever wanted to play in Oakland to begin with, and
yeah,
two, he was banged up all season this year, and he still managed to get 1,000 yards. Like, there were some games where he was literally, you could tell he was hurt. The way he was running routes, the way he had quiet games where he'd only have like a couple catches. There was a game where he got shut down. He got shut down by Marshawn Lattimore. He got shut down by Stephon Gilmore. There was a lot of games this season he just was quiet, which I
yeah.
guess, yeah, okay, you can make that argument that he disappeared, but he was also injured, banged up. His knee was not 100%. So I think a lot of people need to slow down with the whole Amari Cooper needs to leave thing. I don't want to lose Amari Cooper. I don't want him gone.
I agree with you. You know what? When you're investing money into a guy, you're investing into his character. And Amari Cooper has the character of a really. I think he has the character. It sounds like he is a no nonsense, not going to make a ton of noise. He's going to work hard. I think he really connects with Dak Prescott in that way. Prescott's like that a lot too. So yeah, I mean, he's totally talented, and he's talented, and he's got the character side. So yeah, I mean, I would totally bring him back. And yeah, I mean, he's not like an Odell Beckham or he's not going to make a ton of noise. So he's
Yeah.
not a diva or anything. So
Yeah. And I mean, he works, he does his job, and he works well with the quarterback. So I mean,
yep,
why would you want him go? I know he's going to want a lot of money because the he waited, to see like Michael Thomas and Julio Jones get their big contracts, so he's expecting to get a lot of money. And when you have Dak Prescott wanting a lot of money, it makes the stock go up. So
right.
I mean, I guess that could be a concern, but I mean, this is your guy. I mean, you got to look at what he's done for the organization since he's been here, and how much it could affect Dak Prescott if he leaves. Because especially since, I mean, as good as Michael Gallup was this last year, there's still a lot of games where Dak Prescott would still miss a lot of throws to him. So Amari Cooper seemed like that dude that was always going to be that guy for Dak Prescott. So
Yeah.
I think Gallup is getting there, but he's not quite there yet as far as like the chemistry. So yeah, you gotta keep this guy. So yeah, I mean, Cowboys fans, need to slow down with that one. Yeah, but yeah, I
100%.
mean, I guess that's all really much to talk about. We kind of addressed the whole NFC East situation, the new coaching. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't think I did. I mean, there's not any more noise we're making right now. Obviously, we still have the draft coming up. And the season still has to finish out with we have the divisional round coming up. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, before we go, let's just go ahead and say what we want to draft first round. So we have the 17th pick in the draft. So I think what I'm hoping a safety.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that safety from LSU, but I don't know if he's gonna fall to 17.
Grant Delpit, yeah. He might. His stock was really high a year or so ago. I think his stock has kind of fallen a little bit. I don't think he had as big a year as maybe he did the year before. But solid player, played in a big program. I think he would adjust well to the NFL. Yeah, I think that's a good option. I think, definitely someone on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's where
Yeah.
you got to go in the first round. Um, I think Coach Mike Nolan's going to have a lot of say in that, which is big. He's going to draft with all his experience. I think he's going to look around. I think his scouts are going to give good information, and he's going to be able to pick out a guy who he thinks was going to work well in the system that he wants. And obviously, the draft is a few months down the line, so the Cowboys are going to really be able to. This defense is really going to kind of get tightened up a little bit over the next few months, and I feel like at that point, Coach Nolan's going to really know who he wants and where they should go with that 17th pick. And so, yeah, I think definitely someone on the defensive side though.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it to be a safety that could turn into a star because, we need someone back there in that secondary to help out. I know the linebackers kind of had an off year. I think Jalen Smith will have way better year next year, especially having Leighton back healthy, who also kind of had a little bit of a down year too. So I think overall, just the whole team like culture will be so much better next year. It should be like I think
Yeah.
it should be. So I don't know. Will be interesting to see. I think. I mean, as far as the other NFC East teams, I think Eagles go receiver. Maybe like a CD Lamb, or maybe even what's that guy's name from Alabama's receiver?
You got Judy, who's going to be taken way early. Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, maybe.
Henry Ruggs. Yeah, I was thinking. I was seeing that Philly's really interested in him, and he might be their next guy. So maybe
He's a speed guy. He's a downfield threat, which might be what they need.
they
He's
need
almost like a
something,
Tyreek.
man.
He's almost like a Tyreek Hill who can just take off, big vertical threat. Maybe not the best route runner. Jerry Judy's more of the route runner. Not as quick, but he's very quick, but not as quick as a Henry Ruggs. But he's a much better route runner. Ruggs, big downfield threat. Might be exactly what Carson Wentz needs.
They need something. I just think they need a lot of depth at that position.
Yeah.
And obviously the Tennessee wide receiver was a beast this year too. So
AJ Brown. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Redskins probably. I mean, they could probably go offense too. I mean, they've been drafted. It feels like they've been getting a lot of defensive guys the past few years, but I think they'll go offense this year.
Maybe an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, I mean they're
They'll have a very high pick. Maybe get a guy like where are they picking? Third? No, they're wait.
Yeah, I think they're third or fourth.
Aren't they? Wait, or who's second then?
Dolphins, right?
No, the Dolphins are fifth because they won all those games. They moved down to
I'm
fifth.
I'm an idiot.
The Redskins are second. They're going to get Chase
Young. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, you got to get Chase Young.
Yeah,
you can get offensive line throughout the draft.
I
mean, there are a couple good ones in there. The Andrew Thomas from Georgia is going to be a top 5 pick probably.
I forgot about
maybe
Chase
go third or
Young,
fourth,
bro.
but yeah, gotta go. Obviously, Chase Young.
Yeah, and that game versus New York was the battle for Chase Young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. I totally forgot
about
that.
Giants, man.
Yeah. So it's gonna be Burrow, Chase Young. Tua just announced yesterday he's entering the draft.
He'll go fifth to the Dolphins. I'm guessing at this point. I think he's a franchise guy. Everyone's super high on Burrow right now, and for good reason. He's had a major year, but I think Tua. You
think Tua will be a better pro quarterback?
Could be. And I mean, I can't really give Burrow a ton of flaws other than I think maybe the only flaw I can really highlight right now for Burrow is that he's only been doing this for 1 year, and a lot of it I feel like is because of that new coach and the new scheme that they've been doing with Joe Brady and whatnot. You put him in Cincinnati, where he's not going to have the same receivers. I mean, he'll have, I guess, AJ Green, but
That's if he stays on the field.
Right. Relatively compared to the other NFL teams, not going to have the same talent. I mean, not going to have the same offensive line. Um, I mean, under a new coaching staff, can he have the same success? That's kind of my question there. But he's a guy, again, like I said, you're investing money or you're investing a number one overall draft pick. You're investing in the character of the guy. You don't want to invest in a guy like Jamarcus Russell who's going to be lazy and not put in the work to adjust to the NFL. Joe Burrow is not that guy. He's going to work hard. That's what he did at LSU. I mean, yeah, you can bring in a new coach, but Burrow really he really worked hard with that coach to kind of get adjusted, and they were able to have a ton of success this year. I mean, he's a guy who kind of an underdog story a little bit, almost like Drew Brees kind of. People told him he's not good enough. Goes to Ohio State, gets beat out by Haskins, and then he's like, "Yeah, got to get out of here. Got to transfer." He ends up at LSU, and he just absolutely lights it up, especially this year. So I think he's got that fire in him to be able to adjust and be a leader, and he can make all the throws. I mean, some of the throws he's made this year are just absolutely insane. So I think there's a low bust potential with him just because of all of that. But again, there is that slight concern that, okay, he's only done this. He's only been this great for a year. Remember last year at this time, people were saying he's a fourth, fifth rounder.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that might be the one question I might have there with him.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know who Joe Burrow was until this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Exactly. What were you saying about Tua?
I was just saying that really the only big concern with Tua is his health. I mean, he made the right decision in leaving Alabama. I was really hoping he wouldn't stay, just for the sake of him. Just because if he gets hurt again, then might be all over at that point. Then it's like, okay, how far are you going to fall at this point? But I remember this guy was so good that. You have a guy in Jalen Hurts who was pretty good. Won you whatever how many games he was like 26-2 or something. He helped take you to a national championship the year before. I think they win that year with Jalen Hurts. Did he win the national championship? I don't exactly remember, but
he got benched.
Right. No, but did they win the year before when he? No, he lost. He was a true freshman. Yeah. They lost to Clemson, and then the next year. Yeah, then the next year he wasn't doing as well, and they go with a true freshman. Tua comes in, does really well, and then these last couple of years, he really really had a lot of success, and he had so much success that people were saying that the Dolphins were going to tank for Tua, with be the number one overall pick and draft Tua, and of course it's half ridiculous because you're not actually physically tanking, but he gets hurt, and then it's like, okay, now you got to decide, are you gonna leave or are you gonna come back? And I think with that much money on the line, and with the potential of being a fifth overall pick, I think or a top 5 pick, I think he made the right decision in coming back. As long as he can stay healthy at the next level, I think he will have a lot of success. I think he's almost like Burrow in the sense that he can lead, he can make all the throws. He's a great downfield thrower of the football.
He's a lefty.
He's gonna be able to. He's going to work hard to adjust, and I really like. I think Miami might be a good situation for him. Just because I really think Brian Flores is going to be the guy there. And I think they have those 3 first-round picks. They're going to take 2 with one of them, and then the other 2, they're really going to, maybe help him out on the offensive side. And then, I think Miami, I think they got a bright future, actually. I think Brian Flores might be the guy. there. So
And it's time.
yeah, we'll see.
And it's time for what's his face. It's time for Fitzmagic to go to another team and give him some shine for a couple games.
Maybe I think he'll stay there though. I think because I don't think Tua is going to start from day one.
Yeah.
I think Fitzpatrick's been in the league for so long. I mean, he's a funny guy, but he's also his IQ is through the roof. So I feel like he would have a lot to teach a young guy.
You still got Rosen too. You still got Rosen.
I completely forgot about Josh. Man, dude, that is like I've never seen that before with a top 10 quarterback ever. I don't know if we'll ever see it again. To be honest, the way he gets drafted, didn't the Cardinals didn't they trade up to get him, and then they pick him. He doesn't really play super well in his first year, but he had a horrible line. He was getting ripped to shreds back there. There was the coaching. I didn't Steve Wilkes, I think was their old coach before Kingsbury. I mean, they fired him after 1 year, so I don't think they really saw him as the future. Gets traded to Miami for like what was this second, third round pick, something like that. And I guess Fitzpatrick's just played so well that he hasn't really gotten his shot. I mean, he kind of did get a shot, but not. I mean, I don't know. I just it's tough because you look at a guy like him and he kind of reminds you of Aaron Rodgers a little bit in the sense of he's kind of a tall, skinny dude, California kid who can throw the ball real well. He's a little cocky. He's got some arrogance to him, but I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers, and he kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers. Looks like a younger Aaron Rodgers. We'll kind of see how it works out with him, but man, what a tough first 2 years in the league.
Yeah, I'm still pulling for him to have a good career. I just think he's been in bad situations. I still think he has potential. I'm not going to call him a bust just yet. I mean, on paper, he probably is a bust, but I want him to get another shot. So, I mean, maybe a better team, but we'll see. But yeah, we can talk about this more and more. We'll wrap it up right here. Appreciate you guys for watching. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about the whole Cowboys situation and how the coach is going to do and how it's going to be. So y'all let me know in the comments, and we'll see you for divisional picks. Peace out.